And welcome to the first of the Talk to the Entities Halloween Facebook Lives. We are super excited to be joining you from Perth in Western Australia. This is Pam Grace. Hey, Pammy.
Hey, that was my scared. I'm scared. There's a rich bitch witch here.
Oh, you're not surely scared of witches, are you?
Not anymore. Not anymore. So apparently, apparently we're the opening act. So we get to take it away. Yeah.
Awesome.
So what can I tell you about that? Yeah. So look, I had a really interesting relationship with the whole ghosts, entities, witches kind of stuff, and probably got it from my family, from parents, from where I grew up. You were taught that you were meant to be scared of anything that you couldn't see, or anything that you could see that looked strange, weird, and like it might have some sort of power over you. So that included witches. So when I get, just like that.
So am I scary to you?
No, you're not scary to me, Sarah. So when I came across Access Consciousness, I loved everything apart from the talk to the entities bit that I kind of avoided for a couple of years, until I realized that avoidance and that stuff I was actually trying to get away from was because there was something that I knew about entities and the spirit world, and eventually I could ignore it no longer. And so I took the classes, and quite recently became a Talk to the Entities facilitator, and now I get to talk to people about how none of that stuff is really scary.
Yeah, I love that. I love
and
how
Halloween, and it's not
exactly
scary.
No, and I mean, I was born in England like you, but I grew up here in Australia, and I guess a lot of the things I got it from was from movies and books, and the scary movies. And a lot of people who come to classes seem to say the same thing. Like they go, well, isn't that something I should be scared of? And then if you actually really look at it, a lot of the time that perspective, like with you, Pam, you were taught to be scared of things you couldn't see, or we've been exposed to a lie that's actually something that's been made up from a movie or a book. And we know how much movies and books make up stuff too, And I guess I've always been a little bit weird when it comes to ghosts and death. I kind of thought it was a normal thing. So I go to funerals and stuff like that, and I smile. And I guess I love that different perspective on death that Talk to the Entities gives, is that it's like the celebration of the life and a letting go of that spirit so that the spirit can then choose again. That's the bit that I love, one of the bits that I love.
Yeah. And then as soon as you begin to acknowledge that there is in fact nothing to be scared of, and you are, in actual fact, you are more powerful than any of that, then you can start to choose something totally different with the whole spirits, ghosts, entities scene. And then you kind of become an invitation to talk to other people who would really like to have a conversation around it, and they're not quite sure how. So I just wonder what sort of conversations you might have had, Sarah, with people who are curious and now know that you actually play with the unseen world, and that it's okay, and in actual fact it's a contribution to you.
Totally. In fact, one of the stories I'll share is when I was on the plane home from my first set of Talk to the Entities trainings over in Amsterdam in 2015, I remember Shannon saying, having done these classes, you're going to be having different conversations, and people will be, almost seeking you out because you energetically be the invitation to that possibility. I was like, okay, so I'm sitting on the plane, and the gentleman next to me, I ended up chatting to him. It was my second leg back to Perth from the east coast of Australia. And I said, oh, what are you doing in Perth? I said, oh, we're scattering my brother's ashes. And I was like, oh, out of my mouth straight away says, well, do you ever talk to him? Does he ever come and see you? And he goes, yeah, all the time. All the time.
Yeah.
And we had this chat about how his dead brother would come and visit him and chat to him.
Yeah.
And it was the most normal thing. And that's the thing that I love, is like the normalization of something that's been, okay, over the history, made to be wrong, made to be scary. It's like, what if that is more of a normal conversation? And the piece that I say to people who sometimes, are in classes is like, what would it be like if you died and everyone ignored you? How would you be?
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. And how hard would you have to work to get somebody's attention? So I wonder, how hard are the people that you've known who've passed over, how hard are they having to work to kind of go, hey, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
How hard are they having to work to do that, when if you were to go, okay, so what is this? Is there something here that I'm ignoring? And if I was just to ask a question, okay, maybe ask, okay, so who is this? Maybe it's just that. Who is this? And then maybe you get that, oh, okay, so maybe this is someone that I knew who has passed over. And yeah, would it be that weird to actually start a conversation? And I know a lot of people do talk to their relatives, their partners, their friends who've passed over. They do that. It's
Totally.
just not something we talk about out loud. And what if that could be more of the norm, to actually talk about it out loud?
I was doing an Instagram live with a bunch of Russians the other day, and one of it was just a free one, and I had the lady translating, and we were chatting about talk to the entities and various things. And at the end of the Instagram live, I had one of the girls reach out to me and say to me, I can't believe this, but after so many years, I realized that my granddad's trying to be in touch with me. And she said, he died 11 years ago. And 11 years ago, I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety, and I've been medicated ever since. Yeah. And she realized that part of the piece of that puzzle was that this grandfather had been trying to get in touch with her. Yeah. And the revelation and the sense of possibility, she was just beside herself going, oh my goodness, really?
Yeah, there's total freedom there, I think, Sarah. And I know you and I both have qualifications in mental health, and we've done a lot around the mental health scene. And now, having done the Talk to the Entities classes, I get that we are able to share tools that are going to give freedom to all of those people who think that there's something wrong with them.
And I love that. That's the part that I love more than anything, is like, this is not like a subject that's taboo anymore. People are actually got this inner question behind their mind. A lot of people want to know, what happens when I die? There's that curiosity. There's a curiosity about life, but there's also that curiosity about death. And if we can be the person that they get to speak to, or we can share these tools with other people who get to have these conversations, what different world can we create there?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. You go. No, you go, Sarah.
When I was living in Italy, I was living in an Italian family, and sitting across the mother of the guy I was dating at the time, and everyone in the village and everyone around the neighboring villages knew she was crazy. She was the crazy woman that lived in that house. And I was like, oh, okay. So I sat across her conversing in Italian, and we said something, and she said, what about your mum? And I said, oh, no, my mum passed several years ago. However, she comes and sees me, and we're in touch still, which she just doesn't have her body. She just, comes and sees me. And she looked at me like really strange. And I was like, what's up? She said, well, the day my dad died, he came and sat on the end of my bed and he spoke to me, and he does a lot of the time. And he said, and all the aunties and all the uncles, they all like fly around the house and do crazy stuff. And people think I'm crazy. And I just said to her, I took her hand and I said, what if you're not crazy? What if you're just really aware?
Yeah.
And that there is like, those are the conversations that I know we can have with people that may invite them to something totally different,
Absolutely. And I was thinking today, right, Halloween, and it's like Halloween is the day when we're allowed to have some fun with all of this and have fun being scared and have fun dressing up. And I've got four grandchildren, as you know, and they're always very excited about Halloween and what they can do and how they can dress up and how they can scare each other. And I know you've been out today rollerblading with kids dressed up as a witch, and it's great fun. And I was kind of going, okay, so what if we could have this conversation with kids as though this is actually absolutely normal every day, and it's not even that scary. And in actual fact, my grandkids, I know they already have awareness of the unseen world. And when they're little, it's very normal for kids. Somewhere along the line, they buy the idea that there's something wrong, that if you believe in anything that you can't see, that you're meant to be scared of it. And it's they're the boss of you, and I better be afraid, and I better not do anything wrong. And I wondered today, like, what if we can actually start to have conversations with kids as though it were perfectly normal, which it
Totally.
is, you know,
Exactly.
and normalize it, and not and let them know that there is actually nothing to be scared of, that they are actually always in charge. They don't have to be scared. They're in charge. They don't have to be scared of things that go bump in the night, because they're the boss of that anyway.
Correct. I love
And
telling kids, you get to be the boss with these
yeah,
guys. Don't
yeah,
let them boss around. It's just like your dog. You don't let your
yeah,
dog jump all over your bed and jump all over you. You tell him to sit.
yeah,
Same with the entity.
yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. So did you see that today? Like you were with a lot of kids today.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
know you were telling me that even though you were dressed up with a green face and a witch poo hat on, that they actually weren't that scared of you.
Yeah. In fact, I was chatting to one of the store holders that was standing near where I was standing with the kids, and I went and chatted to them, and she said, the thing I find most strange is that none of the kids are scared of you, Sarah. And I realized, so I said, yeah, there's something that I do that allows that. And I get that's the energy that we can be when we're talking about ghosts, is like invite people to, well, what if this is quite normal? What if this is not something to be scared of? What if this is actually just a conversation waiting to be had?
Yeah. And it's not that significant.
No. There's a small story when I was pregnant with my first daughter. So it was 22 years ago now. I was desperate for an ice cream. It was hot, it was summer, and I'd gone on to this area where there were lots of people and seats taken, and I really had to sit down. I was heavily pregnant. And there was this table with about 10 people sitting at it, and there were 2 spare seats. And I just said to them, please, would you mind if I sat in one of these chairs? And I went to sit in one of the chairs, and the little boy said, no, that's my friend sitting there. Can you sit here? And one of the family members went, don't listen to him. That's just him and his imaginary friend.
Yeah.
And I sat down in the seat, and I looked at the little boy, and I said to him, I said, is your friend sitting here? He goes, yeah. I said, what's your friend's name? And we had this cute little conversation.
Yeah.
And I remember actually, like, some of them looking at me. I don't know if they could hear me. I didn't actually care, because I'm like, wow, what if me sitting there having this conversation with this little kid invited him to know that he wasn't crazy.
No.
He wasn't making stuff up. He was actually just really aware of having a friend that didn't have a body, that no one else could see. And what magical capacities did he have, right?
It's funny. Yeah, I'm just aware now of all the people who might be watching this now or in the future that are going, yeah, I had a friend. I had a friend.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe it was a ghost. Maybe it was an entity. Wow. Yeah. It's so common. That is so common. And what if we could allow that to be normal for kids and not to make that wrong or weird, and that somehow they're the weirdo that's got that imaginary friend?
Well, what can we also learn from the kids?
Yeah. Oh,
you know,
yes.
Having less filters, having no reference point for it to go, well, okay, there's something sitting here. It doesn't have a body. I can still see it. I'm still aware of it. you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And parents actually asking questions about it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, exactly.
they're curious and saying,
Mm.
wow, okay, how much fun are you having with your friend? And, you
Yeah,
know, are they there all the time? And what else do you know? And who else do they know? And yeah.
rather than instantly dismissing it because it doesn't make sense to them.
Yeah.
And I think that's what that people have done up until now. If they haven't been able to make sense of it, didn't make sense of it, they didn't understand it, or they didn't have a reference point for, well, if it doesn't have a body, it doesn't exist. That's this possibility that's available, you know.
Of course. And Sarah, I do have to share this with you. You do realize that it's not that long ago that we did used to burn witches at the stake.
You're right.
So prior to all of that, it was quite normal and common to have that kind of relationship with things that you couldn't see, and people that had passed over. And even now, I know in some countries, it's still not that strange. I think in the more westernized countries where the witches were burnt at the stake, maybe there is still some fear around people who have those capacities and those talents to know that there is something there other than what it is we can see. And they're too afraid to acknowledge that.
And I love that.
Yeah, maybe they got all of that information from school or church or wherever.
Yeah.
And guys, if you're listening, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Exactly.
You have
and the big piece to remember is, like, nothing outside of you is greater than you. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. And, you know, I remember putting a post in one of the spiritual kind of groups once about talking to entities, and they're like, oh, and they had all these weird reactions. And I was like, well, actually, I'm willing to be the boss. So how's it get better? You know, it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally empowering.
Yeah, definitely.
Totally
and I think the thing that I've seen, you know, having had a close family member, my mum, pass, and, you know, she's actually jumped in the car while we've been driving, you and I, and given you a message, and it's just like, normal. Oh, mum's got a message for you. Oh, gee, okay, hi, thanks. Since I wasn't listening, at least Pam was listening, you know, and it's funny.
Yeah. And how comforting is that? My mother-in-law died fairly recently, within the last 6 months, and that for me is, now I've done these classes, it's like, well, okay, and so now what? Like, now what relationship can we have now? Okay, so you don't have a body.
Totally.
And, you know, what else is possible with all of that? Yeah,
I remember
there's no finality to it.
Exactly. The last time I saw my mum in physical body, we spent a couple of hours together. We were chatting, and I could see she was exhausted. She was tired. Her body was really ready almost to leave. And the conversation that changed everything was, I said to her, I said, Mum, why don't you come and chase me when I'm rollerblading?
Wow.
You can come and see me. And her energy went from really aged and like really like dying to this uplifted, like she was like, oh, I can do that. I'm like, uh-huh. And I love that. Like that there was like, what if the death piece isn't the end? What if it's just a different possibility that shows up?
Yeah.
You know.
Wouldn't that be great to have a totally different reality with the death process, you know?
100%.
Instead of all the fear around it, and, you know, that kind of finality around it all.
Yeah, what if we could celebrate death and enjoy it?
Yeah.
And these sorts of conversations, you know, people having these conversations, whether the people are here live with us, and if you are, hello, if you're going to be listening later
on,
everyone. You know, it's like what different possibilities available around death and around the entities and around ghosts.
Yeah. And these conversations are going to be happening for the next few hours, aren't they, Sarah?
They are, yeah. We've started off here in Australia, and we're going to be traveling around to different countries with different lives. And Shannon O'Hara, creator of Talk to the Entities, will also be joining live too. So please make sure that you catch some of the other facilitators. As I said, myself and Pam are here in Australia. We teach the Talk to the Entities introduction in the beginning class, and there are people globally doing this. So if you don't speak English, there are probably going to be some translated versions of this too.
All around the world. And Sarah, after we've finished, is going to hop on her broomstick and go around the world just in case to remind
Correct.
you.
Yes, yes. So if you wake up and you've got a green face looking at you, it's me. No, just jokes. But yeah, did you have anything else you wanted to say, Pam?
I think we're done, Sarah. That was so much fun. And thank you, everyone, for being here and for listening to us. And thank you for everything that you've contributed.
Yeah. And what if we could leave you with that question to maybe ask yourself, like, if ever you've had that sense where you've done like a double take in the room, or you've smelt something like a flower and maybe there wasn't that flower in the room, or you got something brushed against your skin and maybe you were wondering what that was. Maybe, just maybe, this is the possibility of being aware of ghosts. And what if it wasn't something to be scared of? What if it was actually quite the opposite? What if it could be one of the most beautiful, elegant ways of receiving?
What a beautiful way to finish, Sarah.
Thank you. And thanks for being with me, Pam. Super grateful.
Thank you, Sarah. See you soon.
All right.